bit about myself. I'm married with 4 children, 2 of them married, 6 grandchildren. I've been living in the 5 towns for the past 30 years. My primary specialty is physical medicine and rehabilitation, and I'm responsible for the Department of Rehabilitation Medicine at Mercy Hospital. I also have some other interests professionally, and one of them is lifestyle medicine. I got involved with lifestyle medicine about 5 years ago after becoming aware of some of the myths and facts about what a healthy lifestyle looks like. And since that time, my wife and I have embarked on this journey of eating a mostly whole food plant-based diet. And one of my daughters has joined us, and she actually started preparing food for people who want to sample eating this way, and she posts her creations on Instagram, and her handle is TB Whole Foods. So if you want to see some interesting food creations that are whole food plant-based and how delicious they can be, I invite you to check out her Instagram account. So about lifestyle medicine and the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So the American College of Lifestyle Medicine has been around for about 16 years now, 17 years. It grew out of a specialty of medicine called preventive medicine. And it has grown really explosively over the last 5 to 10 years as more and more physicians and lay people come to the realization that so many of our health problems in the United States and around the world are caused by the lifestyle choices that we make. And you'll get a feeling for some of that, for some of those facts as I go through this PowerPoint presentation. So lifestyle medicine is the use of a whole food, plant-based, predominant dietary lifestyle, regular physical activity, restorative sleep, stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connection as a primary therapeutic modality for treatment and reversal of chronic disease. It says plant predominant dietary lifestyle because the real science to date, to the best of our knowledge, indicates that it doesn't have to be exclusively whole food plant-based diet. There are blue zones around the world where people routinely live to be 100. That is, the majority of the people living in those cultures live to be 100 on a routine basis. And many of them do include small amounts of animal protein into their diet. So the science does not tell us that we have to be exclusively whole food plant-based. Many of us are, because that's a choice that we make. But the science tells us that if you eat a couple of ounces of animal protein 2 or 3 times a week, 2 or 3 times per week, that may be sufficient to support the lifestyle that we're looking for, the goals that we're trying to achieve, and the outcomes that we're trying to achieve in terms of health and longevity. Nutrition is really by far the most important piece of the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. They're all important, no doubt, but there's a saying that says you can't out-exercise a bad diet. If we don't consume a healthful diet, it doesn't matter what else we do. We're not going to be okay. And if we do consume a healthful diet, then we might be able to get away with a few indiscretions in these other areas of lifestyle medicine. But really, the most important pillar of lifestyle medicine is nutrition, no doubt about that. I spoke a little bit about the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and why really it came to be. The truth is, this is really what we should be referring to as conventional or conservative or orthodox medicine. There's nothing new here. We've known this forever. As a matter of fact, all of these societies and others have routinely demonstrated to us that lifestyle interventions are the bedrock of prevention and treatment of chronic diseases. They're in all of the evidence-based research, all of the clinical guidelines, the cardiology guidelines, the stroke guidelines. Any major field of medicine will look at lifestyle as a primary intervention to prevent and treat the diseases that they deal with. Here's an example of it being in the clinical guidelines, right? Lifestyle as the foundation for atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease risk reduction efforts. So if we want to address the root causes of the diseases that are the most problematic in our society, obesity, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, lifestyle medicine interventions are always a foundation of prevention and treatment. Unfortunately, lifestyle medicine interventions really don't get the billing that they deserve. So that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to redirect our focus towards the primary interventions that everybody agrees. All of the professional organizations, professional societies in medicine agree that lifestyle interventions are the foundation. And yet, they've never really been addressed adequately to have the impact that we all know and agree that they can have. And that's what we're trying to change. So this society, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, is growing into a recognized, accepted piece of medical profession with criteria for joining, with criteria for becoming certified, and with criteria for practicing lifestyle medicine. And this is what it looks like in terms of chronic disease, what causes chronic disease, what impact is chronic disease having on the United States from a health perspective, from a financial perspective, from a healthcare perspective. 6 in 10 Americans have a chronic disease. And again, a chronic disease is almost always obesity, hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer. Those are the big 5. They account for probably 80% of the expenditures in healthcare in the United States. 6 in 10 Americans have one of those diseases. 4 in 10 Americans have 2 or more of those diseases. 38% of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer during their lifetime. Half of all Americans have cardiovascular disease. 1 in 3 Americans have prediabetes, and 90% of them don't even know it. 72% of Americans are either overweight or obese, overweight being defined as a body mass index of greater than 25, obese being defined as a body mass index greater than 30. As a matter of fact, this is a good one. The average American has a body mass index of 28, which is overweight. That's the average. The average BMI in the United States, if you take everybody from the high end to the low end, is 28. So that really speaks volumes. And those are the numbers in terms of absolute numbers of how many people are living with these diseases. And lifestyle medicine is really hoping to address the root cause as well as to improve health and reduce costs. Obviously, we all know that our healthcare system, as we know it today, is not sustainable. And there's some more information that proves that as I go through this presentation. So most people actually think that they're living a healthy lifestyle. If you ask the average American, are you living a healthy lifestyle? More often than not, they will tell you yes. we know that that's not the case. We know that most Americans are not living according to the principles of lifestyle medicine, as I briefly described them earlier. Just anecdotally, I sometimes ask my patients to rate their perception of their health when they come to see me. So I ask them on a scale of 0 to 10. If 10 is perfect health and 0 is, you're on your deathbed, how would you rate your health? And so anecdotally, for example, one patient says, I would say that my health is 7 or 8 out of 10. I said, okay, great, thank you. Tell me what medical problems you have, what medical procedures you've had, what surgeries you've had, what medications you're on. And she goes on to tell me that she's being treated for high blood pressure, diabetes. She's had bypass surgery. She's had open heart surgery. She's obese. She has arthritis. And her perception is that her health is pretty good, right? 7 to 8 is like pretty good. And I think that she's not atypical of how Americans view their health. Most Americans view their health as, if they're not in the hospital, if they're not actively sick, then they're reasonably healthy. I think that's a very warped way of looking at our health. I think that if you're on medications, that automatically, knocks you off of a 10. If you have to take medications to treat anything, whether it's high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, arthritis, you name it, I think that automatically takes you at least a notch or two off of being in perfect health, by all means. And then if you're obese, I think you have to take a couple of points off. And if you're struggling with any pain or impairment in any body system, such as the musculoskeletal system or the cardiovascular system, then I think that certainly takes a few points off right there also. And certainly if you're obese, you have hypertension, diabetes, you've had open heart surgery, to me, that's not a healthy person. But yet a person like that says, well, all of my medical problems are controlled, so I don't have any medical problems, I'm healthy. In my mind, if you're taking medications, you're not healthy. But we can change that. The good news is that we can actually address the underlying causes of those medical problems and not just treat them, but make them go away. And this is proven. This is, I'm not making this up. This is scientific literature. The only diet that's ever been proven to reverse cardiovascular disease is a whole food plant-based diet. And this was proven as far back as the mid-'80s by Dr. Dean Ornish, who you may have heard of. Dr. Dean Ornish demonstrated that, that we can reverse chronic health problems by changing our diet, and actually reverse atherosclerotic heart disease. And you'll see pictures of that later on in the PowerPoint presentation. And we know how many years we've known that what you eat impacts your health. Okay, lifestyle interventions can result in a 58% reduction in diabetes, right? We change our lifestyle. This is some of the impact that we can have. And this is published, by the way, in the New England Journal of Medicine. So again, this is conventional wisdom, conventional medicine. This is not something that's outlandish or out there or far out there. Every traditional, orthodox, conservative medical doctor should know that lifestyle medicine interventions should be the foundation of treating all of our chronic diseases. This is what I was referring to before. Reversal of coronary disease achieved with a plant-based diet. If you show this to most cardiologists, this is the left anterior descending artery, and you can see how the flow through this artery is limited by stenoses caused by plaque. Most cardiologists will tell you there's only one way to treat this, which is by putting a stent in there to open up these vessels, to open up this artery. We know that's not true. This is a real patient. This was published by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, one of the grandfathers of lifestyle medicine. Actually, he's a cardiac surgeon. He's now an older gentleman in his 80s. And for the last 20 or 30 years or so, he has come to the realization that surgery is not the answer, that lifestyle medicine interventions are the answer. And this is the profound impact that adhering to a lifestyle medicine program can have. Opens that vessel right up. And this is not, by the way, in 5 years or in 10 years. This is in as little as months to a year. So plaque is not a static, atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease is not a static disease that cannot be reversed unless we put a stent in it, a balloon and a stent. It is a dynamic disease and situation that is amenable to interventions short of actually putting a guide wire, a balloon, and a stent into an artery. So these are just a lot of the facts that back up the points that I'm making. Chronic disease is the big killer in this country. It's not a new high-tech intervention that's going to have an impact on the cost of healthcare in this country. It's going to be education, 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 adopting lifestyle medicine interventions to prevent and treat chronic diseases. That's what's going to make the big difference in our healthcare system. It's not going to be the next latest and greatest high-tech scientific intervention. And again, as I said earlier, nutrition is really the bedrock of the lifestyle medicine interventions. These are the other pillars. And let's see if I can't show you some other slides that actually show you what a whole food plant-based diet looked like. Let me close this out. And share with you some other screens. If I can figure out how to do that, here we go. All right, let's look at some myths and facts about nutrition. Am I sharing that? Does everybody see that?
No.
No.
If you're switching, are you switching your monitor? Because it's not going to work that way unless it's on the same.
Okay.
Your same monitor.
I guess you're still not seeing it, right?
No.
All right, let me figure out how to do this. Bear with me for a moment.
You got it.
I'll close that out. And I'm on. So let me open that screen up first and then hit share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Share screen. Okay, share.
There you go.
See it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, are you seeing just the slide that I'm showing you, or are you seeing all of the other things around it all as well?
Yeah, we're seeing everything.
Mm-hmm. Not sure I know how to make that change, but okay. Okay.
That's good.
Is that better?
That's
Yes.
Okay, good. Nutrition myths. Myth number 1, you have to consume milk or dairy to meet your calcium needs. Fact, plants are the original source of calcium, absorbing minerals from the soil. The calcium that we get from milk is just the middleman, right? milk has calcium because cows eat grass, which is where the calcium is, and it gets absorbed into the cow's body and ultimately winds up in the cow's milk. But that's not the original source of calcium. The original source of calcium is in the plants, is in the soil actually, which gets into the plants. Fun fact, we believe, conventional wisdom tells us that we have to have adequate intake of calcium in order to prevent osteoporosis and hip fractures. Fun fact, the countries around the world that have the highest consumption of dairy products, milk, cheese, also have the highest incidence of hip fractures. So I guess eating sufficient dairy products is not really the answer to our problem of osteoporosis. As a matter of fact, osteoporosis is more likely the result of eating animal proteins, which are acidic, and as a result, our body leaches calcium from our bones in order to balance our pH, the pH in our body. So actually animal protein probably causes osteoporosis, and drinking milk is not the answer. The answer is to limit our animal protein intake so that our bodies don't leach calcium from our bones to make up for the pH balance. And in terms of how much calcium is actually in the foods that we consume, broccoli is going to come up a lot in this slide. 125 milligrams of calcium in 2 cooked cups of broccoli. So 4 cooked cups of broccoli, which is really not a lot of broccoli, is equal to a 1 cup serving of skim milk in terms of calcium. So, and if you look at almond milk, 450 milligrams of calcium in 1 cup. So, one myth debunked. Next myth, most people do not get enough protein. Fact, the average person consumes too much protein. How much protein do we really need? So it's unless there are circumstances that have to be addressed specifically, the general formula is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for me, I weigh about 70 kilograms. I need approximately 60 grams of protein per day. That's more than enough. I've never seen a patient come into the office with blood work that demonstrates they have a protein deficiency because they're adhering to a plant-based diet. I've never, ever seen it. Nor will any other practitioner of lifestyle medicine tell you that they've seen protein deficiency as the result of adhering to a plant-based diet. As a matter of fact, pound for pound, broccoli has more protein than any other source of protein that you could possibly imagine, including eggs, meat, milk, chicken, fish, pound for pound. Myth, you need to eat animal protein to meet your protein needs. Again, just look at the numbers. You can see them for yourself. A cup of red lentils has 18 grams of protein. Beans are full of protein. So a few cups of beans a day, and you've got your protein. A couple of cups of broccoli per day, and you've got sufficient protein. All right, let's see if I can't share another screen with you. Oh, that's wonderful. It moved on to the next screen by itself. You see that, right? The next slide? Great, okay. So hopefully I've made the point that a plant-based diet is the most important intervention that we can undertake to improve our health. So how do we transition from the typical American diet, also known as the standard American diet or a SAD diet, to a plant-based diet? So it's a journey. For some people, it's an incremental step-by-step transition to eating more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, chickpeas, peas, nuts, and seeds. And for other people, it's a flip of the light switch. For me, it was a flip of the light switch. For myself, my wife, my daughter, it really was a flip of the light switch. Although I can tell you that that my diet today is more healthful than it was when I first started my whole food plant-based journey. But nevertheless, I did cut out animal protein and animal products immediately. I did still use substitutes, processed plant proteins, which are not the most healthful foods in the world. For example, the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger, they have a lot of saturated fat in them. So while they're better than animal protein by far, they're still far from being the most healthful choices. And it's always a question of, well, is this food healthy? Well, compared to what is really the question. Food shouldn't necessarily be judged on its own merit. It should be judged as a choice. I have a choice to eat berries versus banana. Which is more healthful? Well, berries are more healthful. They're packed with antioxidants. They're lower in sugar. So if I have to make a choice between which fruit I'm going to eat, I try to make the most healthful choice, rather than accepting that any individual food stands alone. It's always a choice. Like, how can I make a better choice is really the question. So it's about eating more fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, more legumes, and less processed food, less animal products, and that's how we get ultimately to eating a whole food plant-based diet. It's about making healthy choices, and I think I'll be able to share these. And this is what a whole food plant-based plate looks like: fruits and vegetables, plant proteins, including chickpeas, seeds, edamame, beans, nuts, and whole grains, rice, amaranth, quinoa, corn. Rather than going through all of these slides individually, I hope I'll be able to get this information out to you through the JCC. My next slide, again, shows us the dietary spectrum. This is what America typically eats. We see a lot of processed food here. Chicken thigh, in particular, has a lot of cholesterol, dairy, sugar, French fries full of trans fats. We do see some nuts in here, processed junk, no nutritional value whatsoever. Dr. Michael Klappa would refer to processed food as food-like edible substances that come in brightly colored packages and boxes. It's not really food. It's manufactured stuff that's edible. And how do we get to this diet? Well, we increase our whole plant foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, water, and we decrease sweets, snacks, fast food, fried foods, refined grains, refined sugar, meat, dairy, eggs, poultry, and high sodium foods. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine recommends eating a largely plant-based diet Look how pretty that is. How do you argue with that? Look at that bowl. Is that not gorgeous? Avoid sugary drinks like soda, juice, cocktails, coffee, energy drinks. Avoid. Let me tell you about processed meats. Did you know that processed meats is a class 1 carcinogen, according to the CDC? That is, you might as well smoke cigarettes. Eating processed meats is just as likely to cause cancer, particularly colon cancer, as smoking cigarettes is likely to cause lung cancer. So you really want to avoid sausage, bacon, salami, bologna, deli meat. You want to avoid, particularly, you want to avoid grilling meats. Grilling meats also results in carcinogenic compounds. Avoid cakes, pastries, sweets, dairy, red meats, poultry, eggs, and eat plenty of vegetables, mushrooms, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. And there's some good resources here. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics actually is moving away from their typical construct of what a healthful diet looks like, because in the past, their recommendations were not necessarily so healthful, because they did include dairy, eggs, meats, etc. And now they do have options to replace those recommendations with plant-based foods. So these can be helpful sources of information and education to help us move towards a whole food plant-based diet. Particularly the American Institute for Cancer Research also has some very good information. And this is my favorite one, Nutritionfacts.org. This is an organization that was created by a fellow by the name of Dr. Michael Greger. He's really my go-to guy in terms of lifestyle medicine. He's a medical doctor. The only thing he does is he and his staff, he has a staff of about 14 people, they review the English language scientific literature on nutrition and health. That's all they do. And they publish their findings on their website. He has videos, he has podcasts, and all he does, he writes books. Some of his books include How Not to Die, How Not to Diet, and he has cookbooks that accompany those books. And all he does is educate the public about what a healthful diet is and what impact nutrition can have on our health based on the scientific literature. So it's not about his feelings about food or any popular beliefs about food and health. It's really about what the science says about food and health. He also has an app called the Daily Dozen. It's called Dr. Michael Greger's Daily Dozen. It's an app that you can download onto your phone, and it tells you exactly how much of each food group to eat every day. And you can check off the boxes as you consume those items. And trust me if I tell you that if you check off those items of the food that he recommends that you eat, first of all, you will be full all day. And second of all, you will not have room to eat unhealthful food. You'll be too full to eat unhealthful food. So it's one of my favorite tools to help people transition and maintain a whole food plant-based diet and lifestyle. We did some of this before. We did a head-to-head comparison. Remember, it's not about the food. It's about what do you compare that food to? So if you compare beans, for example, to chicken, let's say. So one serving of beans has 132 calories. It has 1 gram of fat, 0 saturated fat, no cholesterol, very little sodium, almost negligible, 24 grams of total carbohydrates, and 9 grams of fiber. The typical American diet is woefully inadequate in fiber. The problem with the typical American diet is not that it doesn't have enough protein. It's that it has too much protein, too much saturated fat, too much cholesterol, too many carcinogens, and not enough fiber and healthful carbohydrates. Let's compare that to a serving of chicken, and this is breast meat, which is healthier than dark meat, right? Because it has much less cholesterol. 1 serving has 164 calories, 4 grams of fat, 1 gram of saturated fat, 85 milligrams of cholesterol, 74 milligrams of sodium, no carbohydrates, no fiber, fiber. We must consume lots and lots of fiber to feed our friends that live in our gut, what they call the microbiome, right? So again, it's all about, is this food healthy? Well, compared to what? And this is a review again of something that we spoke about earlier. How much protein do we really need to get? So how do we live a healthful lifestyle? We choose fiber-filled, nutrient-dense whole plant foods to fill 1/2 to 3/4 of your plate. We engage in these other activities to help us with exercise, our emotional health and resilience, stress management, sleep, and avoiding substances that can result in detriment to our health. So I believe that concludes the information that I have to share with you today. I hope it was helpful, and I'd love to hear some feedback.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stein. That was very informative.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What about organic? If I can't get organic blueberries, is it okay to eat them if they're not organic?
The answer is yes. Organic is not the be all and end all. When we can, it's better to eat organic, obviously to avoid pesticides. And also, if you believe it's important to avoid genetically modified foods, but it's not the be all and end all. It's much more important to eat the right types of food, your fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, legumes, chickpeas, peas, nuts, and seeds. It's much more important to eat those foods than it is to eat an organic diet. You know, you might be able to find organic meat, for example. There are companies that sell meat, chicken, beef, lamb, that will deliver to your door meat that has been 100% grass-fed, free range, and yes, that's better, absolutely better than eating meat that's been raised in the conventional style of your industrial food lots, for example. Yes, it's better to eat 100% grass-fed, free-range meat, chicken, lamb, etc., than not. But it's even better to eat a whole food plant-based diet, whether it's organic or not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time